So I picked up this Chicago Electric portable bandsaw from Harbor Freight, and it's really awesome, works great. But you know what would make it even more awesome? That would be having a stand for it. So I'm going to build one right now. As I started thinking about how to design the stand for the saw, I realized that this saw has a lot of curves on it and not many places where I can support it. There are a few flat surfaces on it, but they are all very narrow, oddly shaped, and located in tight spots on the saw. It took a while, but after I thought about it some more, I think I figured out the best way to go about it. I started out by printing out some templates for the various parts of the stand that I'll be making. Here you can get a better look at all the templates that I made. And then it was a matter of attaching the templates to the plywood that I'll be using with spray adhesive. And here's a first look at all the pieces that I cut out, drilled, sanded, etc. And I can start to take off all the paper templates. And now we're going to do a first dry fit of all these parts. Now you can start to get an idea what this thing is going to look like. Alright, now it's time to glue this baby together, and you don't see it on the shot here, but I thought about this a lot before I finally committed to gluing it. I really didn't want to have a mistake and be sorry about gluing something that wasn't ready to be glued. But obviously I finally got to the point where I was ready to pull the trigger, so to speak. Let's take a pause and talk about where we're at with the assembly. For now, I've dry fitted these two ledge pieces where the saw will rest on the stand. Let's do a test fit and see how the saw looks on the stand before we glue these in. As you can see, the saw fits pretty nice. Now I'll take the saw off and show you some additional small pieces that are going to fit on the stand. The first one is a piece with a groove to match the shape of this upper ledge. I did have to notch this out some because if you look on the saw, it has this bulged area that I needed to clear. The second additional part is a combination of two pieces. The idea here is to provide a feature that will push on the saw's trigger when it's installed on the stand. That way I can operate the saw by either plugging it into a power strip that has a switch on it or by plugging it into a foot pedal. You'll see how this works in a little while. Here we are at the second glue up activity, and I had to think about this one too before I committed. And even though these are smaller pieces, they still had a lot of work in them, and I really didn't want to make a mistake and realize that I should have done something that I didn't. Alright, so this unit is dry, the glue's dry, and you can see how everything turned out, pretty nice. Okay, you can see I've got that little trigger pusher thing on there. Now I centered it up. I don't know for sure where it needs to go. Good, let's see how it works. And it looks like that worked pretty good. And now we're going to use the saw to actually cut the slot in the tabletop. I found that it will only go this far because this guard here is in the way of the table going all. So I laid out some new lines to make some clearance for that. Okay, so you can see I cut away some of the material over here so that this part now sticks out further. Now when I put this on, it will go in further, like so. Sharpie, and I'm going to mark the heads on the screws where I want it. Tap it, let's see what we got. Okay. Alright, so here's the finished product. the saw is installed on the stand. You can see I put a nice paint job on the stand, make it look all snazzy. But anyway, I really love how everything fit together really well. I really love how I did not have to modify the saw at all to make it fit on here. The only thing I did is remove this little base piece that has these screws that hold it on, and then I was able to put those screws through this top that I made and hold that in place. But aside from that, no modifications to the saw. So if you want to take it off of here, you just remove the screws that hold the top on, slide the top off, and then the saw is free to come off and you're good to go. Of course, you got to put this piece back on if you need it. The other thing I really like on here is this little trigger pull feature. So as soon as you put the saw on the stand, this thing pushes up against the trigger and it's good to go. And now, in order to run it, you maybe want to plug it into like a power strip with a switch on it, and then when you want to turn it on, you just flip the switch. The other thing you can do, I've got one of these foot pedals, and you could just plug the saw into there and then just run it with this foot pedal thing. That's really nice. I also really like this metal top. I think that came out really cool. It really looks like it's made of solid metal, and it is metal on top, but the rest of it is just plywood. But I think that came out really nice. And then I also like this miter slot feature that I cut in here. And this is just a Harbor Freight miter bar that I got off of a sander that I got. So that's really nice too. Now mind you, this thing is built for a homeowner type application. So if you're a contractor, you're probably not going to be able to use this thing. It's probably not going to hold up under heavy use. But for people that just have to do little jobs like cutting sheet metal, cutting tubing, copper tubing, aluminum tubing, steel tubing, angle iron, it's perfectly suitable for that. And I think a really nice stand for something like that. So now if you do want to build one of these stands yourself, I am going to be providing a link in the description to this video to the templates that make up the parts of the stand. Now mind you, some of these parts are a little bit big, so if you are going to use 8.5 by 11 paper to print out the templates, you are going to have to tape together the pieces so that they make up the shapes. So like this base, this top here, this piece in the back, probably take 4, maybe 6 pieces of paper to make up those pieces when you put them on the plywood. So just something to keep in mind. But anyway, hope you liked the stand. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, click the like button. And I'm Mike, and I've been thinking.